What's up everybody? Eric here of Bowflex Workouts, and I run this channel where I post free weekly workout videos for this Bowflex and all sorts of other machines. So I've been working out on this one here for about 8 or 9 months, and I've been posting regular workout videos for it, and I gotta say I really like this machine. And in this video we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and whether or not this machine is for you. So this machine is a Bowflex XCEED, and we're going to be reviewing it today, but I'm also going to talk about the really similar Bowflex XTREME. So Bowflex has been around since about the 1980s, and back when I was a teenager in the late 90s, I remember seeing infomercials and commercials for them all the time. But back then, I remember them being really expensive, like $2,000 or maybe $2,500. But nowadays, they're actually a budget-friendly device, and they cost a lot less, which is kind of crazy given there's been 20 years and inflation and all that, but here we are. So the original version of this model here came out in 2006. They did a big update in 2013, and really it's been the same machine ever since. And as of the recording of this video in late 2022, this machine here costs $800 on Amazon, and the XTREME SE2 runs $1,500 on the Bowflex website. I mention all this history not to bore you, but to say that Bowflex has stood the test of time, and it's not just the brand, but it's also the machines themselves. It's not uncommon to find a machine like this on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace that's 5, 10, maybe even 15 years old, and it still looks and works great. Now, these machines last so long because the build quality is so high. This frame here, this is solid steel, and so is the footing and the base, and there's even this nice diamond plate here down the stand on. So the whole package ships at 157 pounds for the XCEED, and the XTREME is a little bit heavier at 185 pounds. The seat here in the backrest, well, these are quality too. They're stitched vinyl, and they kind of have this faux leather feel. There's a good amount of padding, and it feels just like a nice high quality piece of gym equipment. And you might be wondering, what's up with the shape of the backrest? Is it to look cool or bulky and strong, or is it designed for overweight people? Well, maybe all the above, but I think it's actually so you can lock your knees in place when you're doing a lat pull down, so you don't get pulled up by the bar as you do your repetitions. The cables here, they're steel rope, and they're covered in this black casing, and then they run through nylon or plastic pulleys that are encased in metal. And the plastic pulleys, they work really well here. The resistance just glides as you pull. The resistance though just is not what's advertised. The stock XCEED and XTREME, they come with 210 pounds of power rods, and that weight feels a lot more like 100, maybe 120 pounds, and that's really disappointing. So let's put it on a scale and see how it goes. I've got a brand new 50-pound power rod racked up, and I'm testing this here with a luggage scale. The first thing to note is that the resistance increases further the further you pull, like an elastic band would. The further you pull, the harder it gets, and unlike a band, they're not going to snap, and if they did, there's a lifetime warranty that's going to cover broken rods that are snapped like that. Now, the rods are not going to snap because after so much pulling, you're going to hit the maximum range of motion, and that maximum tension is well below what's advertised. And you can see here, a 50-pound power rod is testing at just 25 pounds. So 50% of advertised weight, unfortunately, sounds about right to me. So 210 pounds of power rod resistance is a lot more like 100 pounds. So if you're pretty big, or maybe you've been lifting weights for a while, you're probably going to need to upgrade the resistance. And fortunately, you can do that with this machine. There's space for 2 additional 50-pound power rods on both sides, and that's going to bring you up to 410 pounds of power rod resistance, which is a lot more like 200 pounds of resistance. And there's another way you can upgrade the resistance of your Bowflex without buying more power rods, and that's with elastic bands. I'm going to have a video out on this soon. It might already be out by the time you're watching this, but with elastic bands, you can inexpensively upgrade your baseline resistance without a lot of cost, and it can be a ton of resistance. So be sure to check out that video if you buy this machine. So one last thing here, when you're done working out on your Bowflex, you need to disconnect your power rods. Otherwise, they're going to warp and lose resistance quickly. And in my experience, if you wrap them up with a bungee cord or Velcro, they don't degrade quickly at all, and they actually last a really long time. Can you build muscle with the out-of-box resistance? Well, yeah, definitely. But your experience is going to depend on what your starting point is. So if you've been lifting for a while, you won't be happy with heavyweight, low rep style routines with just the 210 pounds. You're going to have to do just HIIT style work. But if you upgrade the resistance, you're going to be able to do some satisfying high weight, low rep style routines. And while we're on the cons, I've got one other negative I want to talk about here, and that's sometimes the range of motion on these machines is a little bit limited, and this comes up on exercises where you rotate your body, and there's some workarounds, but they can be a little bit awkward. So we've got all the negatives out of the way, and you're interested in buying this machine not because it can do a bench press, but because it's an all-in-one device, and I think it does that really well. I like to think of this machine as a cable tower with a bench stapled onto it. Now the bench here has been turned 90 degrees and is vertical. Where a traditional bench press, you're lying flat on the ground, but in that you're counting on gravity to bring the weight down and provide the resistance. So with a cable system, you can have the resistance running in whatever direction you want. So you can do a bench press seated upright, you can do a bench press leaning over, it all works. Another great perk of this is you never need a spotter with a cable-based system, which is great for when you're working out at home. From this position here, while you're seated on the machine, you can do all sorts of different lifts. You can do a chest press, incline press, decline press, chest fly, tricep extension, reverse flies, rows, and so much more, and it's all customizable too. These cables here can go in to work a little bit more of a narrow grip or out wide to hit kind of a wide grip. And this seat here is also adjustable, so you can bring it up or down depending on your height. So let's move our way up the machine, and we're gonna move this pulley up here to this top position. And now we're set up to do some crunches. Now the machine comes with this ab crunch harness thing. And what you can do is you clip in and you have a really nice connection for a good crunch. And this is a pretty nice harness. And the only problem though is you don't really use this for anything else. If I were in charge of this design or like CEO of Bowflex or something, I would really think about selling this as a separate attachment and then using some of those savings on the bill of materials to cover the cost of an additional 50-pound power rod. So that would make the machine 310 pounds of resistance instead of the 210 pounds. But while I'm at it, I probably just nix the 5-pound power rod altogether. It's kind of flimsy and just doesn't really do much. So I'd have a 300-pound machine. But anyways, let's keep moving up, and we're gonna talk about the lat pull down. Now switching pulleys here, this takes about 45 seconds, maybe a minute, and that's not bad, but it can kind of mess up the flow of a workout. Now, this is the biggest selling point of the XTREME. The XTREME has a quick change cable system, and what that means is the resistance is live on each pulley at all times. So there's no rerouting your cables or your pulleys. Now this is all done with a complex network of pulleys that are at the back of the machine. And the XCEED, it's simple, it just doesn't have it. That's a really great feature, and whether it's worth paying for, I'm gonna leave that up to you. Sometimes the XTREME is only a couple $100 more than the XCEED, and to me, that'd probably be worth it. But sometimes the XTREME is nearly double the price, and at that point it's probably not worth it. Again, the prices are going to vary, and I'll let you be the judge. The lat pull down is another good exercise. The pull down bar is exactly like you'd find at the gym. It's bent on both ends for a wide grip pull down, but you can also do a narrow grip pull down, and that works really well too. You can also hook up handles up here too, and that's going to unlock things like reverse flies or tricep extension. So let's go ahead and move our pulleys from this top set here all the way to the bottom one, and for this we just have to unhook this right up here, maybe toss the cable aside, and now we're just going to hook it up through this pulley here and then clip in our handle, and we're all set up for half of the machine. So the first lift from this bottom set of pulleys that I like for the upper body is a bicep curl, and this is really great on the machine, and that's because of the gradual resistance that the power rods offer. So with a normal weight, your resistance is constant, and a lot of people fail at the beginning of a bicep curl, but with the Bowflex, the weight increases over time, and you end up failing at the top of your lift instead of at the bottom, which is kind of cool. Sometimes this can be a negative though, since resistance at the beginning of an exercise can be too light depending on the lift. Usually you can find a workaround, but not always, and using shorter handles can help when this comes up. Another great feature of the gradual resistance is it softens the load on your tendons and your joints, and this can be really great for beginners, middle-aged people, and on up. So you can also do other stuff like rows and shoulder work from this bottom set of pulleys, but we're gonna move on to legs now. First, we've got our leg extension attachment, and the cables, they just clip in right down here, and then you have a really great leg extension. Great for your knees and for your quads. Now, leg curls, on the other hand, they might work for you, they might not. For me, I have to rest my head up against the backrest and then lean forward, and it's kind of weird, and it doesn't work nearly as well as the dedicated leg machine, but that's sometimes what you get with an all-in-one device. What has really impressed me though is this squat bar attachment, and it's a little intuitive at first, but once you get used to it, it is incredible. And I actually prefer these squats much more than free weight squats, and because of that gradual resistance. So when your knees are bent and you're in the most compromised position is when the load is the lightest, and then as you accelerate up, the resistance picks up too. So I was not a believer of this attachment at first, but now I see it as a huge selling point. You can do lots of other leg work on here. Now, step back lunges are another favorite of mine, as you can do calf raises and hip extension, hip adduction, and even some work on your glutes. Now, I have just been so impressed with legs in this machine, but I have a couple hacks that I want to share with you. So I've always liked using a towel to separate the bar and my bony back, but a while ago, a commenter on a video of mine gave me a great hack, and that's if you have a pool noodle, just cut it lengthwise, and then you can just slide the bar directly into that pool noodle, and there you go. And you've got a really nice connection there. So another cheap hack I'd recommend is buying these ankle straps. Now, these only run about $10 on Amazon, and if you buy the elastic bands I recommend, these actually come free with it. So what the heck are these? Well, basically, they're strapped here, and you put your ankle through it, and now we can clip our ankle directly into the cable resistance, and that's going to give you really good control when you're doing different lifts like hip extension or maybe some high knees that are resisted, stuff like that. Also lets you pivot between lifts really quickly. So really good connection, cheap upgrade, definitely recommend that. So would I buy this machine again? Yes, absolutely, and I would recommend it for both general fitness and for athletes. If you're a beginner though, or maybe you need a machine that has a little bit smaller physical footprint, check out the PR1000 and Blaze. Both of those, they have this bench that lies flat, but then you can also fold it up when not in use. The reason I recommend this machine if you have a bit more experience in the weight room is that you're gonna like all the different pulley positions and the attachments and the squat bar especially. And those things can all be really intimidating for beginners, but if you know your way around a weight room, you're gonna like all those options. At the same time though, you're gonna be disappointed with the resistance level, so you should be planning to either buy some additional power rods or at least upgrade with elastic bands. Ultimately, I think this is a really great budget option for a home gym. If you really like free weights though, I would just buy a bench and a squat rack. There's some people that really like free weights, and I used to be one of them. There's something about the rhythm and the clanging and the ruggedness of free weights, and you're just not going to get that on the Bowflex where you got this smooth gliding resistance. It's just different. When I say budget to your home gym, I'm really talking anything between $400 and $1,000. And outside of that though, there's a lot of these really cool smart home gyms coming out these days, and they've got all these different sensors, and they follow along classes, and they track your progress, and they're really cool, but they start at maybe $2,000, $3,000, even $4,000, and they require a monthly subscription that might run $30, $50, even $70 a month. Now, a good example of this would be the Tonal Home Gym, where the machine itself costs $3,500. And then you also have to pay to get installed. And then there's another $50 a month subscription. And so it's really just adding up. And to me, this kind of feels like the good old analog versus digital machines, where the digital ones are probably better and they're easier to use, but they cost a bunch more money up front and they have a monthly subscription. Meanwhile, the Bowflex and free weights, kind of for that matter, are kind of the tried and true and expensive options, but you got to know what you're doing. So another thing about Tonal, I don't know what happens if you sell your house because it's like installed in your wall, and does the new buyer get it? It's a fixture in your house. I don't know, but getting rid of a Tonal or moving it seems like a real challenge. And for Bowflexes though, there's a really healthy secondary marketplace for them, and you can find them all the time on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. And in my experience, most sellers want about half what they paid for it. So this one here, I bought this one used almost a year ago for $200, and it is awesome. Moving it was not hard, and all I had to do was partially disassemble it, and it easily fit into the back of my RAV4. Now, if you're buying new, assembly is normally going to take 2, 3, 4 hours, depending on how good you are at that stuff. And for me, it probably takes 7 or 8. So buying used works though, because these are quality and durable machines, and you can find some really good deals on them. So the main problem you're going to run into is worn down power rods, and so you might need to replace them or buy some anyways. And there is nothing wrong with buying used. It's good for your wallet. and it is good for the planet. So if you do buy used, tell me about your deal in the comments. And if you buy new, well, that's cool too, but do me a solid and use those links in the description, as I get this little small referral fee and it doesn't cost you a penny. Last thing before I go, I really like workout classes, and that's a big perk of the smart home gyms. They really help keep you motivated, on point, and hopefully you learn a little bit. And that's what the majority of this channel is. So check out the rest of this channel. If you own a Bowflex or you're gonna be buying one of these machines, and if you already have one, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. So if you found this review helpful though, and I hope you did, please go ahead and hit that like button. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So as always, thank you for watching this video. I hope you join me for a workout sometime. But in the meantime, be good to yourself and be good to others.